Okay, so it seems like we're talking about this again. Oh my god. So essentially recently it seems that there's been some kind of discussion around Cinder again, surrounding the previous drama that happened last year. Now, again, this has been a situation that has kind of unfolded over a longer period of time, especially due to the whole kind of Google Doc thing that Cinder ended up releasing, and calling out a lot of other VTubers and stuff for their own kind of misactions and stuff like that. And well, yeah, it seems like recently some people over on Kurosanji, a VTuber subreddit, have been talking about the fact that, oh my god, it's dragging on even longer. Why are people doing this? And I definitely do agree with them, right? Because it's gotten to a point now where I think we've kind of, looked at everything you can really look at whenever it comes to this situation, especially after that Google Doc came out. I think after that Google Doc, that kind of, I guess, tied it off all pretty, well. It seems like a lot of people, were just ready to pick it up and just move on and whatever, and it seems like that's what people have been doing, including like people like shylily and the other ones that were obviously going after Cinder, but also Cinder herself has been streaming and just doing things like normal, not mentioning anything really, and again just kind of moving on with her kind of Twitch streaming, right? And yeah, I think that's essentially what all of the talent involved kind of want at the moment in terms of the situation. They just want to move on. They want to just do something else. They just want to continue streaming and just doing what they like away from each other. Now, it seems like these people have brought up a post from Twitter from a person called Miruk, I think. And again, apparently they've been making some kind of posts about the Cinder situation and just going over a lot of the old information, right? And obviously it says 1 out of 6 of Shylily's lack of responsibility for the power she has. Honestly, I want to believe her intention and mistakes, but the more she doubled down on someone made things up about me, the more I lose faith in the integrity of big VTubers. Indie can just as bad can just as bad as Corpo. I think can be just as bad as Corpo. And again, they ended up making this kind of like a graphic thing. And I think they've made other graphics as well for the Cinder situation, by the way. And I think what they're trying to do is try to summarize things. But obviously, they say defense. Shylily had a good intention of fully believing her friend Numi and Nano, supporting her friends. Numi Bao, who felt hurt by Cinder. Quick succession of bad misinformed intels led Shylily to go nuclear on Cinder publicly. And obviously, they say achievement of influence. And yeah, they've got a lot of different things like Mythic, Gamer Subs, and Twitch and whatever. Like the amount of people have a judgment against me because someone who is a literal certified liar and cheater is continuing to make stuff up. March 2026, Shylily apparently, which again I haven't seen that clip, but maybe she has said that, I'm not sure. But they say criticism, Shylily was misled by personal gut feelings, gossip, and rumors that was not properly verified and led a career-ending expose on her fellow business partner and co-owner Cinder, using her influence as one of the biggest, most trusted and recognizable indie VTubers. Co-owner of GamerSubs, one of the biggest VTuber merch companies, founding member of Mythic Talent, 1 month after official announcement, owner of the most recognizable VTuber card company, VCards, good relations with Twitch CEO, had a dinner with him, big following in popular social media, big subscriber on mainstream video platform, YouTube, became 1 mil in 3 months after, and up to March 15, 2026. So I think what they're trying to say is like she's been benefiting, I guess, off of this. But again, I mean, that's kind of a given, right? I think with the amount of attention this got, of course she was going to benefit off of this. And again, I do think it is pretty crazy, though, that we are still kind of dragging this on, right? I think it is pretty crazy, like on either side, whether it's a kind of defense of Shylily, a criticism of Shylily, or a defense of Cinder, or a criticism of Cinder, right? I think either way, it ends up just getting to the point where it's like, come on, a lot of these people just want to move on at this point. A lot of these people don't want to be talking about this. But again, it seems like people are making like these infographic things about the situation even to this day. And obviously people said, we shouldn't have call-out posts for lack of responsibility for all things, or maybe we should, but this specific post just sets me off. And yeah, I do think it's one of these things where like, this post isn't really going to change stuff apart from people continuing to talk about the situation, right? This post isn't going to make Shylily go onto stream and apologize for the things that she did wrong or anything like that. And it's not going to, make Cinder go onto stream and start talking about it as well, because we all know what they all want. They all want to move on. But again, obviously, apparently we need these posts or whatever, right? People saying, what annoys me is that this whole thing is based on Cinder's insane Arat in a novel docu that she refuses to take back even after talking to Lily. that, to be fair, it started like a week after the situation started, and Cinder gave her half-assed apology. Known racist Powder then released a I don't know, known racist, like, oh yeah, by the way, there were no what. Powder then released a dog circulating the initial rumors that Lily was an evil mastermind. To be fair, I doubt Cinderpubs even read her thesis, instead just using its existence to attack others in the defense of Cinder. Now, again, I don't want to, be too harsh on, the Cinder fans and stuff. I think a lot of the Cinder fans actually want to move on as well. I think that is 100% the case. I think there is obviously just a small group of people, a small group of people, not necessarily even Cinder fans, just, fans of, the situation in general at this point, because it seems like there are, that will constantly try to bring up stuff to do with this, right? So again, I don't think it's like, entirely just like every single Cinder fan wanting to like, continue this on and drag it on. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it is more so just fans of the drama, right, that are mainly doing it. So they've been at it for a while, expecting the fact that Nano and such have some mud on them magically negate Cinder's misdeeds, which again, yeah, I do think it's one of these cases, yeah, where this person says everyone in that situation is dirty. There's no good side. There's no one you are more there is just who you are more parasocially attracted to. 100% the case, right? I do think that is 100% what is going on here, because, the Cinder document did actually reveal a lot of kind of, misdeeds and stuff, especially in the eyes of like nanoless and things. There was a lot of things in there that was like, okay, nanoless definitely did a lot of stuff wrong as well, and it is understandable as to why, she was pretty mad about that. But also, that doesn't mean that Cinder is completely, innocent in her case and innocent of everything that she was accused of, because that's just not the case, right? But also at the same time, we can acknowledge the fact that everybody maybe had a little bit to play in this, and that maybe the best course of action due to that is that everybody just moves on and gets on with their life and doesn't interact with each other, right? That's the thing that everybody kind of wants, right? So funny enough, the whole my favorite is innocent due to them being guilty is the Niji sister tactic. As that's what I find interesting about the whole VTuber community as a whole. People are so quick to negotiate negate any wrongdoing their favorite VTuber has done as soon as something dirty is found against the other person, which, yeah, is a common tactic, not even just in VTubing drama, but in any kind of drama, right? Say, not really a unique thing to this person's based. Not really a unique thing to VTubing, that's just the thing that happens everywhere. Ad hominem attacks are a popular defense online, 100%. If you guys have been in the gacha space, you guys know all about ad hominems. Oh my god, bro. Anyways, it said that kind of happened to Nanoless in the other way around. I was shocked when she posted an apology, because she basically admitted that she manipulated the original situation with defamatory slander. Everything she claimed about manipulated in was her own decision, and the main takeaway. The main takeaway was that she needed to learn to say no. Like, no, the takeaway is to not lie by omission, but no one really cared since the drama was long gone. And yeah, I do think that is a big reason as to why a lot of people didn't care, because it has been a long time, and I think a lot of people are kind of bored now, right? A lot of people don't want this to be dragged on any further, and again, as I said, they just want to move on. Is that I suspect part of it was the fact that she uncovered things about Cinder besides that, I reckon she apologized privately to Shylily and Bao. Had Cinder did just that, then shit would have been blown up in their face. So it is also largely because she sent an apology months after the drama settled. If her actions got exposed at the peak when nothing was clear, she would have gotten absolutely flamed. The clickbait VTubers would have had a field day. Which again, to be fair, I did make a video on the whole nanoless stuff and her responding to the, Cinder thing. It was just the fact that, hey, it's not even necessarily that the clickbait drama tubers wouldn't have had a field day, because we did have a field day whenever it did come out, right? A lot of people did discuss nanoless's response and, what was going on and everything that was exposed about nanoless within the Cinder document. But the thing is, nobody really cared at that point, right? There was less views, there was less, people looking in on the situation, because people didn't care. The drama tubers still cared, we still wanted to, know what was going on, right? But it was more so the fact of, a lot of people just didn't care, or also, didn't want to, know about it, right? And that's obviously up to them, not up to us, right? So VTubers colluded against Sinder, would have done some insane numbers. It would have been like dropping a barrel of oil into the fire. But by the time she apologized, everyone had already decided their sides. It's like throwing your sibling under the bus to cover for your behind. By the time you apologize, your mistake in comparison to what you exposed looks minor in comparison, which, yeah. So, yeah, as people said, not everyone. Numi got dragged in a lot and has done nothing wrong, which obviously, yeah, that is true. So I literally could not bring myself to read the document, Cinder doc. That would have taken 5 hours to explain. So what's the TLDR? So obviously, yeah, people trying to find out what's going on. And again, we did cover this. And a lot of you guys, actually, I remember whenever this whole 1,000 page thing dropped, this was a while ago. I remember almost lost my voice doing it. But we read through a very large chunk of it. You know, obviously, you know, we covered a lot of the main points, and we kind of like went through it in little parts to kind of break it down. And I remember a lot of you guys were saying that you didn't want to read through it all, so instead you were listening to me read through it all while you did something else, like, you know, work or anything like that, which I thought was quite funny. As I'd seen a couple of posts from time to time on Twitter, and very rarely do they acknowledge the things Cinder and especially Red did. It's always Lily being the evil mastermind that ended their innocent careers, which, yeah, I do think that is something that happens quite a lot as well, right? So I don't know why, but I find all the highlighted sections really funny. Like, it's supposed to be giving examples of how influential Shylily is, but it totally reads like this person is unintentionally trying to glaze Shylily and listing her achievements, like had dinner with Dan Clancy, CEO of Twitch. Clearly proof of how super influential she is. /S, I actually have no idea why this is in the list, to be honest. Realistically, the only achievements listed that would actually be examples of influence would be the follow and sub count IMO, at least for the argument of the most recognizable indie VTuber. The other ones are just kind of fluff. For Gamersub's co-ownership, I just looked up, and apparently Shylily isn't even an actual co-owner. She just has a promotional partnership. So, like, I'm not even sure if this one's correct at all. Also, being a founding VTuber of Mythic Talent is also just kind of fluff, considering how Mythic essentially doesn't do anything publicly. Which, yeah, I mean, I can understand the influence behind being a big part of stuff like Gamersubs and V-Cards and, you know, Mythic Talent. I think that 100%, you know, that does have some pull, right? Especially within the VTubing space. So I can understand. It is a lot of fluff, but I do think it does have its own kind of merits to it in terms of how influential Shylily is, because, you know, being at the top of a lot of those things definitely does help out with how people see you, right? So again, it is fluff, but also, yeah, people saying the V-card thing is also an inverted glaze. I didn't even think it was an actual TCG until this guy pointed it out. I thought it was some promotional cards you could buy. Hell, even Oshipush is more of a TCG than V-card is. I think V-card is a TCG. I mean, it's good. I've got a couple of boxes of it, but hey, you know, also use code Kaza for that one if you guys want to get some of that. So indie can just be as bad as corpo. No shit, Sherlock. You guys glazing indies has led you dumbos to believe that somehow you're immune from drama. Think again, numbskulls, which, yeah, 100% is true, right? I think that whole thing of like, oh, you know, just because you're indie, you know, means you're perfect or whatever, there's going to be no drama. Again, if you believe that for some reason being a part of a like kind of organization or a agency or whatever means that you're going to get in more drama than an indie, I think you're just stupid, right? Because you guys have seen how much on this channel indies get into drama with themselves and other people, right? I don't think it makes a difference whether you're a corpo or an indie VTuber. You know, you're still going to get the same amount of kind of drama and whatever between them. It doesn't make any difference, really. You know, maybe you might get dragged into more being a part of a corpo due to the fact that you're associated with a lot more VTubers, but apart from that, you know, I think, you know, in terms of getting into drama yourself, it really doesn't make a difference, right? Especially if you're in ones that kind of are less PR trained, right? Because of course, with, you know, companies like Hololive and stuff like that, they're much more PR trained. You know, they know what to tell the talent, like, don't post this, don't post that, don't talk about this, because of course they know how to kind of control their talent and, you know, make sure that they're safe from any further backlash. But if you think about some ones where they're more free, for example, like Face Connect and things like that, where they're more free to talk about what they want and respond to things how they want, then of course, yeah, you're going to end up, you know, falling into a lot more drama. But again, I do think that this situation is just stupid overall. I just want to talk about it because it seems like this is continuing to be dragged, you know, even further. And I think a lot of people are getting fed up of it now. A lot of VTubers, VTuber fans are getting fed up of it. And you can definitely tell it by this post, right? Because people are still discussing all of the stuff that we've discussed before about a couple of months ago, right? And it's just a loop over and over and over again. And, you know, people will continuously be stuck in that loop going over and over and over again until obviously you just, I don't know, you just kind of forget about it, right? Or not even forget about it. You don't have to forget about it, by the way. I'm not saying like you don't remember everything that happened with Sinder or shylily or whatever, and you can't like, you know, you can still like not watch shylily, you can still not watch Sinder, you can still not watch whoever else who was involved that you thought personally, you know, was doing wrong or whatever. You can do that, right? But I think constantly making posts, constantly like trying to debunk stuff and blah, 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 it's just like, okay, bro, like it's been what, how many months, if not almost a year now? It's like, come on, like it's getting a little bit old. But you know, of course, people are still going to continue to drag it. I think the last video we made on Sinder was actually on the V card stuff with the whole scam that's going around. So again, there's even been situations in between this, which have kind of, you know, shows you how old this situation is now. And I think it is kind of just one of these things where, you know, people are going to have their own opinions on, you know, who's in the right, who's in the wrong, how much kind of, I guess, what do you call it? I don't know how to describe it. Like how much people, yeah, people were in the wrong or not. It's going to be up to them, right? And I think that's it, right? I think no amount of Twitter posts, no amount of YouTube videos, no amount of anything is really going to change this unless the VTubers actually talk themselves and this gets rehashed between them, which I just don't think is going to be the case because it seems that they want to move on, right? It seems like but all of them want to just get on with their streaming, and it doesn't seem like they really bring it up much anymore. Obviously, that was that quote from shylily from March 2026. I don't know if that was true, so maybe they're kind of bringing it up, but there hasn't been any like full-blown like Google Docs or anything that have come out. So again, there's not really much else to add to the situation, right? So again, I think it is kind of just beating a dead horse at this point. And yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy that people are still at it and still kind of talk about it. But, you know, maybe if this person wants to provide informational content, that's fine. But again, you know, some people are obviously pretty unhappy about that. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to Game Subs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.